Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coming back at you from downtown Powerhouse, Tampa. I get so many people asking me how to train their delts, every specific part of their delts. Today we're going to talk about rear delts. There's a lot of different ways you can learn to think about delt training. You guys need to first conceptualize training as far as angles. And forget about movements, forget about exercise, names, it's all BS. Ultimately, if you're trying to train your front delts, it's this plane, right? So if I'm trying to do this plane, it's exactly the same as if I was doing a closed grip bench press, it's just at a different angle. So people don't really overdo these things. You got to learn to think about your body in planes of movement. So if we're learning to think about the rear delt, what are the functions of the rear delt? Rear delt functions to extend the glenohumeral joint at all these different planes. Okay, so how do we learn to isolate that particular movement as well as manipulate the strength curve in your benefit? So if we want to isolate the rear delt, knowing that it does all these different things, let's start with a shoulder flex position, taking you into extension. Okay, so if we want to isolate this move, all these other, if you learn to think about the body in planes, you learn that everything on the outside of this axis actually has the ability to make this movement, to create this movement. So the tricep has moment, the rear delt, the rhomboids, even some of the fibers of the trap, even some of the fibers of the lat. So if I want to learn to isolate this particular movement, how do I do that? We know, according to the strength curve, that a muscle is weakest at its shortened and its most lengthened position. So if I can shorten certain movements or shorten certain muscles and lengthen certain muscles while leaving this particular muscle neutral, we know it's most likely to do most of the work. So if I shorten my tricep, mat lockout, and lengthen my rhomboids and trap, locked out, now this delt is in a position of mechanical advantage. So it's going to be most likely to do the movement. This muscle has been weakened, this muscle has been weakened. So what we're doing is depress, protract, contract your tricep, extend this, so this isn't likely to work, and his movement is literally going to look like this, and that's it. So how can we emulate that on any particular movement? We could do that with a dumbbell if we were bent over. Keep going. Good, and keep that protracted. So as a training partner, you may want to just keep your thumb here so you make sure your scapula isn't moving. So that's the scapula right there. Go ahead. That's it, right there. As soon as your scapula starts to move, you're starting to recruit other muscles. So come across the body a little bit. Good, there. So now Matt's going to show you guys how to do that with a cable, really simply right here. So his first thing is going to be protract, depress the shoulder, contract the tricep, come out. Boom, that's it. If you guys can see, I'll show you Matt's massive rear delt. Go ahead. It's actually knotting up like crazy. It's really it's hard as a rock. And most people are training rear delts. You see it fluttering on and off, but it isn't on. Like we want to learn how to turn that muscle on. Good. Protract, contract the tricep. Awesome. Keep going, 2 more. Okay, so now what we know about strength curves, just rest right there, Matt. So now we know about strength curves, where the force is at a perpendicular angle to the muscle or to the working lever, basically right here. So the force here is the cable, and the working lever is the arm. So this is going to be the hardest position in that movement. You can rest. So in this, stand over here. So in this particular exercise, stand back. This movement is hardest here and easiest, watch out, here. Why? Because now the force is parallel to my arm, so there's less force. Most of the force is pulling me in this direction. So thereby, if I go into a dumbbell, if we're considering strength curves, if I go into a dumbbell, for a dumbbell it's the exact opposite, right? So if I'm doing a dumbbell from here to here, there's no resistance. It's a swing. The dumbbell resistance actually starts here, which is the complete opposite of a cable. So if you guys can learn to manipulate those two variables as far as isolating the strength curve at different points. So with this one, we're isolating the strength curve at the top. At this one, we're isolating the strength curve in the lengthened position. So that's 2 completely different movements for the same muscle. Done properly can really teach your body to bring up those rear delts.